I will now call this meeting to order. Good evening and welcome to the November 21st, 2019 City of Hollister Planning Commission meeting. May I have the verification of agenda posting, please?
Good evening. The agenda was posted on Monday, November 18th, 2019 at the brisk hour of 9:09 a.m.
Thank you, Brian. And let's see, Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Johnson, will you lead us into the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Carrie. Have roll call, please.
Chairperson Huboy.
Here.
Commissioner Stevens is absent. Commissioner Munzer.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner Henderson.
Here.
The first order of business is for the approval of minutes dated October 24th, 2019. All had a chance to review the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from October 24th, 2019.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The minutes are approved. We go into the communication from the public. Any speaker cards for items not on the agenda?
We have speaker cards, but they are on agenda items.
On agenda items, okay. So with that, we go into the public hearings. Item number 1, conditional use permit number 2019-7, Mark Breeder. The applicant is requesting conditional use permit approval for the use of a martial arts academy within a 3,420 square foot tenant space of an existing building located at 817 Industrial Drive. The project is located in the M1 Light Industrial Zoning District, and the proposed use is a commercial use. Therefore, conditional use permit approval is required. The property is further identified as San Benito County Assessor Parcel Number 056-270-014. CEQA is categorically exempt.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amber.
The applicant is requesting a conditional use permit to allow the use of a martial arts academy in Suite B, which is approximately 3,420 square feet. It is one of 5 suites that's in an existing 18,000 square foot industrial building that's situated on a 0.85 acre lot. This is located at 817 Industrial Drive, which is in the Light Industrial Zoning District. Suite B, catch up with myself right here. Suite B consists of a large open bay with an office, restroom, and a spare room sectioned off in the northwest corner of the suite, and the northern elevation of the building includes 1 bay door, 1 window, and 1 man door, which you can also see on these photos right here. Parking per section 17-18-060, number of parking spaces required for a health and fitness club shall be provided 1 space for each 250 square feet of the gross floor area, and shall provide parking spaces in the amount of 10% of vehicle spaces. Bicycle parking, I think I might have said vehicle. The current location has a total of 35 parking spaces with 2 ADA spaces. Suite B has been assigned 6 parking spaces. The Light Industrial Zoning District provides for low intensity research and development, warehousing, and manufacturing activities, including production, processing, assembling, packaging, or treatment of products from previously produced materials or finished materials from previously prepared materials. Outdoor activities are limited to accessory storage and loading areas. Heavy industrial uses may be allowed in the M1 zoning district with a conditional use permit. The M1 zoning district is consistent with the industrial land use category of the general plan. Per table 1710-1, industrial zoning district land uses and permit requirements of Hollister's Municipal Code, section 1710.020, industrial manufacturing land uses and permit requirements, health and fitness clubs and sports facilities shall require a conditional use permit because they are considered commercial uses rather than industrial. On October 31st, 2019, staff presented this item to the DRC committee, which is made up of city staff representing various departments and divisions, including planning, engineering, building, utilities, police, fire, among others, who provide their respective disciplines input regarding development applications subject to the development review provisions of the city's municipal code. The DRC had concerns regarding the mixture of commercial uses and industrial uses within the M1 Light Industrial District that currently span from Hillcrest Road to the north, the Highway 25 bypass to the east, Gibbs Drive to the south, and the Leatherback property to the west near the town center. Just for reference, so you guys can see where it says the land use map, where it is a light gray color, that is the area that we are talking about. It's one of the only light industrial areas within town. Most of our other industrial uses are further on the outskirts of town towards the airport. However, it is for this reason that the Planning Commission has the authority to issue a conditional use permit for commercial uses within the industrial zoning district. There will be multiple tenants that will be in this particular building. Planning staff has included a condition within the resolution to have all future tenants' uses be subject to planning approval, administrative or discretionary as applicable. This will allow industrial uses, which will neighbor the commercial if approved, to be reviewed in consideration with a conditional use permit before occupying the building. And with that, it's staff's recommendation that the Planning Commission review the applicant's request, receive all written and oral testimony regarding the proposal, and consider approving conditional use permit number 2019-7, subject to the findings and conditions contained in the draft resolution. Are there any questions for staff?
I do have a question, Amber. Perhaps you can clarify it for me. It's the parking requirement. I know that there's the space is, I guess, gross square footage 3420. There's 6 stalls that are designated for Suite B, with 1 stall for each 250 square feet. So are they using the ambient parking as part of the requirement, because the 6 stalls would not be enough parking stalls for the square footage?
So, and the applicant, and I believe the property owner is here as well, or yes, they might have some further clarification. So from the information that we have right now, each suite has designated a certain amount of spots. Mm-hmm. They're not totally assigned, but they do each have them. And I believe in your report, it kind of did a breakdown of that. Within our conditions of approval, we have also further conditioned the project, and this was also a condition that was placed on the building with the prior applicant, that they are to, prior to leasing any of the bays on the property, that they need to submit for an administrative permit in regards to the adequacy of off-street parking to ensure that there's efficient parking spaces. Mm-hmm. That, and they can also, with what is currently out there, some of the uses have the ability to do parking reductions and shared parking, depending on the other types of businesses that will be within the multi-tenant building.
Okay. And I guess it's, to be diligent here on the bicycle parking, we know what the requirement is for 10%. Is there bicycle parking being provided at the site, do you know?
I do not believe there is at this time. Again, it was also a former condition that had been placed on the last owner of this building. I do not believe that was ever brought to fruition.
My final question is on Suite B. There's an entry door. Is there a door in the rear of the building, or how many access doors are there?
Just one man door, and I believe, is there more than two? There's two doors.
2 doors?
Yeah.
Okay. The reason I'm asking that is that because of the area that we're looking at here, they're going to need at least 2 exits. And if they do have to cut a door into the building, then I'm not sure if that probably is an administrative approval for changing the exterior of the commercial or industrial building.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
Those are my questions. Any other questions on the staff report?
Yeah, I had a question. I was
Kevin?
wondering, what is the nature of the concerns from DRC regarding the mixture of commercial and industrial uses?
So I think it's just a general kind of concern with the mixture. There is a cannabis facility neighboring, and there's potential for higher levels of hazard uses in the industrial that can be permitted by right. So in the area, however, there are also other gyms in this area, the USA Sports, Ravella's, the Jumpy House place. So it's kind of a mix. And then you have like the manufacturing, like Oseki Saki. So I think in this particular case, it was because this is a multi-tenant building that something permitted by right in the industrial zone can go in next door to a conditional use permit for a commercial use instead of it being kind of its own facility. So that's why we put the condition, the draft condition, to have at least some kind of staff level or possibly planning commission. I mean, if it's an industrial use that requires a conditional use permit, they would obviously have to come get a conditional use permit from you. But if it was something permitted by right, we'd like the opportunity to administratively review it while any commercial conditional use permit is active in the building.
Okay. Are all the gyms in the area, did they all have to have a use permit? And then how long do those permits last?
They run with the land, so as long as it's active, it can remain active. I don't know if all of them have one. I think Ravella's might be old enough to be kind of grandfathered into the area, so they might not have a conditional use permit. If the conditional use permit was ever abandoned, then it would have to, if it was for 6 months or longer, 180 days, then anything new could not be that same use again unless they came back and got new approval. So in this case, if you, as the commission, approve a gym or a martial arts academy in this location, another martial arts academy could take over the same lease unless it was an intensification somehow, or if they ever left and something else came in place and a martial arts academy wasn't there for 6 months, then if another martial arts academy wanted to come in the future, they'd go through this same process.
Okay. Any other questions on the staff report? No further questions. I'll open up the public hearing now at 6:17. Speaker cards on this item?
None.
Is the applicant here this evening? Would you care to address the Planning Commission? I do have some questions regarding the parking.
Of course, yes, sir.
Could you come to the podium, state your name for the record, please? Hi.
Hi.
Your name, sir?
Mark Prater.
Oh, okay. I have to ask you the questions on the parking because I know that based on the square footage, you need about 14 stalls and you only have 6 that are designated. Do you have any plan, like shared parking agreements or ride share or anything of that nature?
Yes, I have spoken to the other business owners, and
they have informed me when they are not at their locations that we can definitely share parking. And then a lot of the parents do drop off as well. And then another thing that we have been doing is, like the other gyms in the location, just park alongside the street there as well, and then just walk into the location. It hasn't been an issue at all, so.
Okay. Is there presently any bicycle parking on the site?
No, there isn't. No.
Okay, so, because there is a requirement for 10%. The other question, I just wanted to let you know that normally, we don't really get into the building code issues, but once you do submit for your permit, you're going to need 2 exits, and the exit doors will have to be at least the diagonal distance of
Yes.
the space. Are you aware of that?
Yes,
Okay. Are there presently exit doors that are spaced adequately in the?
yes, there
And the
is.
suite?
Yes, there's the main door, and then there's the exit door next to the bay door. So there's 2 exits out. Plus
And
the,
they're spaced adequately.
oh, yes, yes, absolutely.
Okay. Is that like a tilt-up building?
I'm
Is it
so-
concrete, or what type of material is it? What is the structural system of the building? Just
Structural
curious.
system, Howard? Stucco.
Stucco?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I don't have any further questions for the applicant.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions from the commission for the applicant? Thank you, Mark. I
Thank you.
appreciate it. Anyone else in the audience care to address the commission on item number 1? No further speakers. I'll close the public hearing now at 6:20. Bring it back to the commission. Comments, discussion on this? I know that in terms of the commercial use within the industrial context, I have no issues with that. I know that it's always good to have gymnasiums nearby with industrial uses. Get some exercise, and there's already, like Ravella's gym in that context. I think that does quite nicely within the context of industrial buildings. That's one comment that I have. I'm a little concerned about the parking and the bicycle storage. I know it starts off with the staff report that, we state what the requirements are, and we're not really clear on whether or not at least bicycle parking is not being provided. So if the applicant cannot follow those rules to the strict degree, can we still approve that with conditions, or how does that work?
Yes, so the commission can approve a conditional use permit. Taking it out of the context of that this is a conditional use permit application, but you can approve a conditional use permit to kind of waive requirements.
You can't waive those requirements?
Yeah, and I think part of the difficulty of this particular building is that it was created and as a kind of just empty warehouse building, so it was designed to park that. I think it's probably overparked for a warehouse because I think it's 1 parking space per 1,000 square feet. And I believe the overall building is 18,000.
Mm-hmm.
So it was overparked for the warehouse use that it was when there was no tenant spaces, but there's not really room to rearrange the parking.
It'd be problematic for them to meet that requirement based
Correct.
on the existing circumstances. Am I correct to say?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments on this item?
I have none.
What's the pleasure of the planning commission on item number 1? Do I have a motion? I entertain a motion.
What's the PC resolution number?
2019-52.
52? I'll make the motion to adopt resolution 2019-52, approving conditional use permit 2019-7, subject to the findings and conditions contained in the draft resolution.
Do I have a second on that?
I'll second that.
It's just further discussion. I'd just like to be clear that we are waiving some of the requirements, the development requirements on parking and bicycle parking. Am I clear on your motion there, Mr. Commissioner Munzer?
Correct.
That you are fine with that?
Correct.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item number 1 has been approved. Congratulations. Good luck to you.
Good luck with the business.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, we go into item number 2, conditional use permit number 2019-9. Elva Ayala. The applicant is requesting conditional use permit approval for the use of a gym within a 1740 or 1,740 square foot tenant space of an existing building located at 817 Industrial Drive. The project is located in the M1 Light Industrial Zoning District. And the proposed use is a commercial use, therefore conditional use permit approval is required. The property is further identified as San Benito County Assessor Parcel number 056-270-014. CEQA is categorically exempt.
Thank
Amber?
you.
You're welcome.
I'm going to keep this report relatively short just because they're within the same location. This particular suite is going to be Suite D. The applicant is proposing to have a health and fitness studio / gym. Suite D is 1,740 square feet. It's one of 5 suites in the existing 18,000 square foot industrial building. Suite D consists of a large open bay with an office, restroom, and spare room section off to the northwest corner of the suite. The northern elevation of the building will include 1 bay door, 1 window, and 1 man door. I believe this is the same as was asked earlier with the exit points. It doesn't show in here, but I believe this also has 2 exit points as well. For parking, the same parking requirements with our code. It is 250 square feet of gross floor area and 10% of bicycle parking. As mentioned, we are waiving those again. This particular site has 4 spaces that has been assigned to it. And again, just to remind the commission that the overall site has 35 parking spaces with 2 ADA spaces. And with that, staff recommends that the Planning Commission review the applicant's request, receive all written and oral testimony regarding the proposal, and consider approving conditional use permit 2019-9 subject to the findings and conditions contained in the draft resolution. Are there any questions for staff? I do believe the applicant is here and the property manager is here as well.
Thank you, Amber. Any questions on the staff report? Okay, if no further questions, we'll open up the public hearing now at 6:25. The applicant is here. Would you care to address the commission?
Hi, my name is Elva Ayala, owner of Body Aid Fitness Studio.
Good evening. Thank you for attending the Planning Commission. Again, you know, I just wanted to get it on the record that you're a little shy in the parking. I don't have an issue with it, but if we do approve this tonight, I just want to be clear on the record that you're going to need a few more stalls, and it may be a good, within your interest, to look for, you know, if there is an issue when you have you need parking and you don't, and it's you're limited on the number of spaces, is to look at the ride sharing or carpooling of that type of for with the employees might help.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just my comment. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay. Well, I think that was it for.
Thank you very much. And thank you to the
Yes.
planning department. They've been amazing in helping me through this particular process. So I appreciate that. Thank
Great.
you.
I'm glad to hear that. Thank you. Okay, any other speakers on item number 2?
No one else.
Nobody? Anybody in the audience want to address the commission on item number 2? Okay, I'll close the public hearing without further speakers. Close the public hearing now. It's
Sorry, Mr.
6:27.
Chairman, one moment, please, before
Yes.
you do that.
Chairman, Chairperson Huboy, did you officially open the public hearing? Or did you call the applicant to the,
I believe I did open the
was
public
officially
hearing.
open.
Yeah, I did.
Okay,
Yes,
all
I
right.
did.
Thank you.
Good. So far, so good. That keeps me on my toes. Okay, any discussion on item number 2 from the commission? Pretty straightforward. Entertain a motion?
And this will be Resolution 2019-53.
Seems pretty familiar.
Kevin, you want to give it a try?
Were you about to do it? Oh, okay. I'll make a motion that we approve conditional use permit number 2019-7, subject to the findings and conditions contained in the draft resolution 2019-53.
Do I have a second on that?
I'll second.
And further discussion, if you're comfortable with just maybe not amending, but just an addenda to your motion is that we are, your motion is to waive the parking requirement, the development regulations, and the bicycle parking. Is that correct? Am I correct to say that?
Yeah, that was the intention,
Okay.
to go with, what you were saying.
Okay.
And just for the record, Kevin, this would be conditional use permit number 2019-9, correct?
That's correct. I believe in one of the papers it might say 7, but it should be 9. My
Okay.
apologies.
Okay, I read it off here. So yes, it's 2019-9.
2019-9.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I will second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Item number 2 has been approved. Congratulations. Good luck
With the business.
Yeah, good luck with that. Good. Okay, we go to item number 3 is the extension of tentative map number 2017-2 and site and architectural review number 2017-6 and conditional use permit number 2017-19. Applicant is Lynn Lake. Is requesting a 2-year extension of the previous approved tentative map, site and architectural and conditional use permit for the planned unit development for the construction of a single building with 1 commercial unit and 5 residential units on a 10,812 square foot lot in the DMU Downtown Mixed Use Zoning District. The proposed project would be located at 224th Street, further identified as San Benito County Assessor, parcel number 054-140-006. CEQA is categorically exempt. Eva?
Thank you. Yes. As mentioned, yes, the applicant is requesting a 2-year extension of a previously approved tentative map, a conditional use permit for a planned unit development, as well as a site and architectural review for the subdivision of a 10,812 square foot lot into 5 lots and 1 parcel for the open space and driveway. And then the construction of a 1 commercial unit and 5 single-family, attached townhome units. The project is located at 224th Street in the downtown mixed-use DMU zoning district. Just so everyone's not confused on the screen, a lot of these are rotated clockwise, so north is to the right. The City of Hollister Planning Commission approved tentative map 2017-2, CUP 2017-19, my screen is wrong here, for a PUD, and SNA 2017-6 at its regular meeting of January 25th, 2018. The previously approved resolutions 2018-1, -2, and -3 were provided as attachments in this report. The project is proposing the construction of a 2-story mixed-use building with 960 square feet of commercial space on the first floor and 1,223 square feet of residential space on the second in the first unit that faces 4th Street. And then 4 additional 2-story residential units ranging from a little over 1,300 square feet to just a little bit more, I guess, 1,315 to 1,321 square feet behind the commercial unit as we go to the north, again rotated, so on the right of your screen. The access on the project is one-way vehicular access from 4th Street with an exit to the north off of Fremont Way. The driveways would be adjoined as a private interior access street through the property. So it's, again, one parcel here that comes up and includes the common open space, so it would all be joined. The parcels are not divided east to west here all the way across. And the tentative map, the lot 1 would be 1,479 square feet located along 4th Street. Again, this would be the commercial unit on the bottom and a residential unit on the top. And then lots 2 through 5 are approximately 950 square feet each, and they would have 1 residential unit on each lot. And then there is proposed to be, again, 1 parcel with the common open space area and shared driveway access. The commercial and residential facade facing 4th Street, which you can see on your screen to the south, would be a stucco exterior with the first floor recessed windows and doors. The second story would have a barrel tile and French doors leading onto a wrought iron balcony overlooking 4th Street. The townhouse units would, they would be using stucco, foam trim, and the balconies would be covered with overhang tile, and there would be an area on the first floor dedicated as a porch. I've also provided the rear elevation, which would face towards Fremont Way, and the rear of the units, which would face towards kind of the wall and open space of the neighboring parcel. They're set back slightly on this side, and this is I believe they have gates, but it's accessible, so it's a fire exit and a way that people can get out in this rear area. The parking requirement typically for off-street parking in multifamily housing or even in single-family housing is 1 1/2 space per 1 or 2 bedroom unit and 1 guest space per every 4 units. And then this project also has a commercial component for lot 1. General merchandise requires 1 space for each 250 square feet of gross floor area and 1 space for each company vehicle with bicycle parking for 5% spaces with a minimum of 2 per building. And while the residential units typically have those parking requirements, this particular piece, because it's located in the downtown parking assessment district, that district established, it was established, I believe, in the late 70s or the early 80s, and property owners assessed their properties and paid a fee, which was used to establish the public parking lots we currently have in downtown. And so all of the properties within that district have no on-site parking requirement. So in this case, it's for residential, but the commercial requires an ADA parking space. And so the applicant's proposing 4 parallel parking spaces here, and 1 of them will be ADA. So they satisfy the parking requirements. And for private open space, as you guys are aware, we just recently changed our open space requirements slightly to clarify them, but because this is an extension, we're going to be talking about the previous requirements. So at the time of approval, the private open space requirement was a minimum of 64 square feet per unit if it's provided by a balcony, or 100 square feet if it's provided at the ground level. The project has 240 square foot private yards at the ground level and 33 square foot balconies for each of the 4 rear units here. And for the unit on 4th Street, it has 106 square feet of private yard at ground level, as well as a almost 80 square foot balcony. and all of the units meet and exceed the private open space requirement, and they're just shy of, they're 10 feet shy of the 250 requirement of today's standard. And then for common open space, again, at the time of approval, a minimum of 400 square feet of common open space at the ground level was required to be improved for passive or active open space. This applicant is proposing 1,154 square feet of common open space with barbecue pits and picnic tables, which meets and exceeds the open space requirements. And with that, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission consider the applicant's request, receive all written and oral testimony regarding the proposal, and consider approving a 2-year extension of tentative map 2017-2, conditional use permit 2017-19 for a planned unit development, as well as site and architectural review 2017-6. Are there any questions?
I do have a procedural type of a
Sure.
question. Since we've been through this project before and approved these plans,
Correct.
and they're asking for a time extension, is this then, is it reopening the evaluation of the application, or are we focusing in on just the time request, or is it, or do we, I mean, to go back, and it seems to me that since the plans were previously approved, and it's within the choice of the applicant to request for a time extension, that it really doesn't make a lot of sense to me to go back and go into the plan design and all of that. I may be wrong, but
I
that-
think
that's
that
that's my
that's
take on it.
a fair take. So the commission has the ability to approve or deny the request for extension, but if you want to approve the extension, you can't modify the project. The project is approved. You can allow it to die, right? You could not approve the extension, and then if they wanted to come back with a new project, then you could evaluate it. But it met the requirements at the time that it was approved. It's very close to meeting our requirements now, and you wouldn't be able to modify it during the extension
For example,
process.
yeah, and I'm happy that you're saying that, because you're saying that they might be like 10 feet
Right.
shy
they-
of the current open space requirement, but since it was approved with what was on the books at that time,
Correct.
I don't think it is fair to the applicant to say that they would have to modify their project to conform to today's development regulations.
Yeah, and
True.
and it would have to be a new project. You would have to
Uh-huh.
deny the extension request, and then they would
And
have
then
to
they would
come
have to
back
go,
with a
and
new
then,
project.
once it's
if they
denied, then
wanted
they'd
do
have to
that.
go back and redo it to today's standards.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions on the staff report? Thank you, Eva. Without further questions, I'll open up the public hearing now at 6:40. Any speaker cards on this item?
Mr. George Ball.
Good evening.
What would you like to know, sir? My name?
It was just announced. Your name is George Ball.
Correct.
Okay. You're-
My,
Thank you.
I have the property adjacent to this piece of property. This property has been delinquent and open and vacant for so long now. I want this project to go ahead. To give another 2 years would be wrong. You know, the place, we have vagrants around that area. I don't see any reason, and I'd like to know the reason why it's being requested for 2 more years. I don't want that vacant for 2 more years. I have the property adjacent. I went through all your planning commission. I put up with all what is necessary with the city. I employed people to help me out. Annie Hall did my engineering drawings for the project, and I got it done. I also have built a house in Tahoe with a permit to be able to build. But that permit ran out, or was due to run out. I had to build it then. They said, or else it's gone. This is the same the way should be here. You should, it's been approved. Why isn't it being built? I'm a real estate broker, and I know some of the reasons why these things are done. The reason they're done is because they can sell a piece of ground with building permission. So to get a 2-year extension is wrong, in my opinion. They should build it, or then it should be withdrawn. I want that place built. I was with the owner when she was doing it, and I was really happy to see this done. But it devalues the properties all around us. It is just an open area where we get all the vagrants defecating at the back alley there, urinating and sleeping. I even get people sleeping at the back of my property. I've got residents upstairs, and they complain about it. I may lose them. It makes it very difficult for the restaurant down below. We have all the vagrants running around outside. That alley is just a place for them to hang around the dustbins and the trash cans. So it has to be built, in my opinion. No, we don't want to wait another 2 years. I want it built. That's the way I feel about it.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Mr. Matt Kelly?
Good evening,
Good evening, Matt.
commissioners, staff. I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight, and I'd be happy to answer Mr. Ball's question. The reason for the extension is when Lynn Lake approached me to do this project, 2 years just wasn't enough. It actually took me a year to get to starting her project because of the workload that I had at the time. And we are very close to approval. We just submitted our third set of plans and final map. We've answered all the comments, and we are virtually approved. But it's going to take Lynn some time to secure funding for the project. It's going to take time to receive bids, review them, to hire contractors and get started on it. I believe she has every intention of building it out. I understand Mr. Balls has a lot of concerns about the alleyway. I don't know that this project is going to change the activities that take place in the alleyway. The alleyway is not part of her property. During the DRC review, a comment was made by Mike Chambliss about the security of the property, and it's been difficult to keep the fence up because of the terrain out there. Lynn assured me she's going to make efforts to secure the fence, to secure the property, to make it safer. But in the meantime, we would appreciate your consideration of a time extension so that she can secure funding, get the building permitted, and get it under construction.
Matt, one question for you. Done a lot of projects. Is this a one-time extension?
I hope so.
Or is this?
Yes, the MAP Act allows for up to 6 years, and I could come back in 2 years and ask for another extension. But like I said, we're weeks away from a final approval. At that point, she'll be able to seek funding from a bank for a construction loan and move forward with the construction.
The final approval is for the construction loan, or what is the final approval?
Well, of our improvement
specifically?
plans.
Of the improvement
The
plans?
time limit is to record a map, and recording a map these days is not an easy thing to do.
Mhm.
During the recession, as you know, a lot of projects went under. And because of that, the institutions that provide bonding for subdivisions are very hesitant to do so. The only way you can record a final map without putting in all the improvements is to bond for all the improvements. That can be very expensive to do so. It can cost about $7,000 a year on this particular project, and you have to have the financial wherewithal to even get a bond. So it's part of the reason we're asking for this extension, is so that so Lynn can get the funding in place to do the construction, get it far enough along, and get our final map approved.
Questions for Matt? Thank you, Matt. Appreciate
You're welcome.
that clarification. Is the applicant here this evening? Would
That's
you-
the only speaker cards we have, by the way. So.
I would like to have questions for the applicant, Ms. Lake.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Lynn Lake.
Hi. Can you clarify for the commission the reason you're asking for, I know we've heard from Matt Kelly about the funding. Can you just let us know how you are on your timeline and securing the funding?
Well, all lending institutions want to know what phase I'm in, and they really don't want to talk to me unless I'm ready to pull the plans. So I can't really, ask for funding until I know I've got the plans and then can get them bid on by the contractors.
Once you receive the plans and the plans are approved, are you confident that you'll be able to move forward with this project?
Yes. Yes, I'm
You think
confident.
2 years would be adequate enough time for you
Yes.
to do it? I think that answers my questions. Any other questions from the commission for Lynn Lake?
I have none.
So the 2 years is really about the time to get a map put in place. It's not to complete the project, right? That's what the 2 years is about.
Yes, it's not to complete the project, it's just to secure a building permit, and am I correct to say that the 2 years would be to, from the planning stage to get the permit and actually start construction?
So it would be to submit and record the map, and then once that's done, then you can pull the permit, but it's to record the map.
But they would still have to get the engineering for the actual buildings, and the building permit would be subsequent to the map being recorded.
Yes, after you record the map, then you are able to pull the permit. You can't pull it before the map is recorded.
Have you, in terms of the engineering and like the structural engineering and your mechanical, electrical engineering, how are you coming along on that?
That would be a question more for Matt, his son. Is
Okay.
Matt still here?
Okay.
Could Matt answer that?
Yes. Matt? How are you doing on the rest of the,
Before I get into that,
Engineering.
I would just like to say that Commissioner Henderson was correct. The 2-year extension has only to do with recording the final map. And with respect to EVA, we do not need to record the map to do construction. We need to do the construction in order to record the map, unless Lynn has the aptitude to bond for the improvements. A lot of contractors these days, they're building about 90% of the project before recording the map because it's too expensive to bond. It's money you're funneling out just to secure the improvements. If they have the wherewithal to do the improvements, they just do them. And then they get to about within 10% of completion. The bond is much more affordable at that time because you're not bonding for the whole project. You're only bonding for a small percentage of it. You get your bonding, you file your map, and then you can start selling lots. So it's not a requirement to file a map in order to start construction. To get back to your question, the structural design is about 90% done. We're bidding out the trusses right now, and once we have the truss design, we can finalize the structural design and submit for our building permit. Yeah, our site improvements are almost approved, and we are very close to submitting for the initial submittal for the building permit.
and can you comment on the rest of the architectural and the mechanical, electrical
It's all
engineering?
done.
It's all done?
All done.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was the answer to my question, Matt. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank
Okay.
you.
Any other, anyone in the audience care to address? Okay, Mr. Ball, you have one further opportunity.
I feel that 2 years is too long. I think you should do 1 year. Put the pressure on. Let's get this thing done, because this place has been open for probably 10. I've had my building now for 10 years, and I've got it done. I'd fight in with the city. Maybe they haven't been pushing hard enough. I don't know. But when you get clearance, you pull the permit and you start building. So I'm not sure what has happened. This thing needs to be done. 2 years, I don't really want to wait for 2 years. I will start requesting of a reduction in my real estate taxes if this is just left the way it is. But I think you should not just go along with 2 years. Reduce it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any further speakers?
None.
I'll close the public hearing now at 7 minutes to 7. Comments, discussion
I
on
have
this?
a question. So, just as a clarification, so I have an understanding. If we were to deny the 2-year extension and they had to start, someone had to start, whether it was Miss Lake or a whole new tenant, owner, whatever it is, how long would it take to start this whole process all over again? To get to where they're at right now, trying to get a tentative map? What is usually the length of that kind of a process?
Well, I suppose if Miss Lake wanted to resubmit the same project, that would be able to happen relatively quickly, right? Because these plans are already in existence.
Mm-hmm.
There might need to be a few changes, and that could take more time. But it takes. We'll say that something was resubmitted right after it expires in January, so we'll say February. You probably would see it maybe April, and then there would be 2 years from your approval to be at this place where we are, which is 2 years from their approval, and they're very close to being able to
So it would
get started on the process. But
take another 2 years?
well, they would be given 2 years.
They would
That's
be given 2 years regardless, so
Correct.
whether we do it now or we deny it and they do it again, it's still gonna be like a 2-year, they'll still have 2 years to do it.
correct.
Okay, that's what I wanted a clarification on. Thank you.
You know, coming from my discipline as an architect, and I know Matt Kelly very well, and he's a man of, hold him in very high regard. You know, I trust what he says. I know the process does take time. And to hear that, what he told us tonight, that with all the engineering, with what they've gone through so far to get to this point, is commendable. In terms of the project, I know we're not going back and reevaluating that, but there's a lot of things I do like about it. I think it's going to be good for the city. And in my view, I appreciate Mr. Ball coming to let us know what his concerns are. But with these projects of this nature, it does take time to do it, especially with the economy going up and down and all that. So, I mean, that's how I see it. I'm flexible. I'm willing to give them the 2 years. I don't know how you guys feel about it. What do you think?
I'm okay with the 2 years. I did just have a question for staff about the driveway. It's a one-way driveway, correct?
Correct.
And the entrance is from 4th Street?
From 4th Street running north to the alley.
And then Freeman Alley is also a one-way alley, right?
I believe that's
So-
correct.
Okay. I have noticed that that alley gets blocked routinely by the grocery store. So it might be a problem for the tenants there, but I don't think there's anything we can do about it here, but I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you, Kevin. Seth, what's your take on this, on the timeline?
Well, when the project was originally approved, I liked the project, I'd like to lay out. I'm waiting for the improvements, definitely to go in there. It's an asset to the downtown. I understand where Mr. Ball's coming from, that, he owns a property right next door and would like to see that developed. It will definitely benefit his property. And I'm sure Miss Lake, if money wasn't an object, would have built it already. So, sometimes financially, it's hard to secure the funds to get going on that, which I understand where she's coming from as well. As well as she wanted to wait for Matt, the engineer, who took on this project, and there was a timeline to wait before he could even get started to it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
In which she saw value in waiting for
Mhm.
him as well. So
Mhm.
I understand where the delays come from, and I'm okay with an extension.
And I understand Mr. Ball's concern, and that's the reason why I wanted to make it known for the record where they are on the project in terms of the engineering and what the status is of that, because I know that it does take time to not only come up with a design, but also come up and engage and coordinate the disciplines to further the plans along and get it ready for a building permit. That takes a lot of the time, and so far they've come along quite, and stated for the record that they've come quite a ways to complete the plans and go forward with the bonding and get their approvals. I think if we were to deny this timeline now, would make it even, that lot would probably be sitting vacant for a lot longer. So, with that said, what is the pleasure of the commission?
In regards to the items on this, do you need this broken up into multiple?
We do not. We can approve one resolution for the extension.
Okay. This is resolution number 54.
Correct.
I'll make the motion to adopt resolution 2019-54, approving a 2-year extension of the tentative map 2017-2 to conditional use permit 2017-19 for a plan unit development and a site and architectural review 2017-6.
Did you include all the tentative map, conditional use permit and all that?
I did.
In the motion, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do I have a second on that?
I'll second that.
Further discussion on that? I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Time extension has been approved.
Good luck with the project.
Good luck
We're-
with that,
we're
and I
anxiously
appreciate,
waiting to
Mr.
see
Ball,
it.
appreciate your testimony tonight, too.
Thank you.
Okay. I think on this item number 4, was this extended from the last planning commission meeting, Brian? Was the,
If it was,
I think it was, and the public hearing was opened. Am I correct? Does my memory serve me correct on that?
Yes.
I'm gonna read the item, and then with that known that the public hearing is presently open, was continued from October, I believe. So it's minor subdivision number 2019-5, Fernando Gonzalez. The applicant is requesting approval of a minor subdivision application to subdivide a 9.524 square foot parcel with 3 existing units into 2 parcels. Parcel 1 would be 4,655 square feet and contain an existing duplex. And parcel 2 would be a 4,869 square feet and contain an existing single unit. The applicant is requesting prior approval for this subdivision on May 18th, 2009, that's the, in parentheses, City Council Resolution 2009-70. But the prior approval has been expired. The property is located at 418 and 424 and 426 6th Street, further identified as San Benito County Assessor Parcel Number 053-007-015. CEQA is categorically exempt.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, so this is a proposal to do a minor subdivision on a 9,524 square foot parcel in the home office zoning district, which allows 8 to 12 units per acre. As mentioned, parcel 1 is proposed to be 4,655 square feet, which has an existing duplex that fronts 6th Street. And then there's also a detached shed and a detached garage on this property, which have access from Wentz Alley. And parcel 2 is proposed to be 4,869 square feet with an existing single-family residence that fronts 6th Street. So currently it's a triplex. It's proposed to be a duplex and single-family. The parcel map shows 2 proposed off-street parking spaces with access from Wentz Alley on parcel 2. So it does meet the requirements for parking on both lots, 2 for the single-family and 4 spaces that are in existence for the duplex. The applicant is requesting an exception to two subdivision standards. The first would be to lot width to depth ratio for parcels 1 and 2, and also an exception to the minimum lot width on parcel 1. I'll get into this in a little bit, but both proposed lots would have a lot to width to depth ratio of 4:1 rather than the required standard of 3:1. Parcel 1 also would be 33 feet wide rather than the required minimum of 35 feet in width. The proposed lots presently have existing sewer, water, storm drainage services, and other services. And as mentioned in the introduction to the item, the project was previously approved by the City Council at its regular meeting of May 18th, 2009. Since that time, the tentative map has expired, and the applicant is requesting approval of the map again here tonight. The home office zoning district creates an option for offices and small-scale specialty manufacturing uses is what otherwise is a medium-density residential zoning district, 8 to 12 units again per acre. And the Old Town medium standards for residential development apply to residential land uses in the home office zoning district. The minimum lot size requirement is 5,000 square feet for a single-family residence in the Old Town medium density residential district, 6,800 square feet for a duplex, and 10,000 square feet for 3 units. Proposed parcels 1 and 2 do not meet this standard. Parcel 1, again, 4,655 square feet with a duplex, and parcel 2, 4,869 square feet with an existing single-family unit. Although the lot sizes of parcels 1 and 2 are less than the 5,000 and 6,800 square foot requirement, the project qualifies for an exception to the minimum lot size in the Old Town district, which is indicated in footnote 6 of Table 1704-2, residential lot size, lot area, and density requirements by district. And this footnote is in place in order to help protect the historic character of the general plan Old Town special planning area. And it states as follows, and is written on your screen. An exception to the minimum lot size in the Old Town district may be allowed if the Planning Commission can make the following findings. 1, the subdivision includes at least 1 or 2 existing residences that have been included on a list of historic structures approved by the Hollister City Council, or including defining characteristics to qualify for a list. 2, the location of the existing residences will comply with side yard setback requirements after subdivision. And also 3, a deed restriction is recorded on the property that prohibits the demolition of the historic structure for at least 10 years. The applicant meets this exception because at least 1 existing residence has been included as a contributing building in the Monterey Street Historic District. That's the duplex. And the location of the existing residence in relation to the proposed property line complies with the side yard setbacks for interior lots, which is 5 feet. A recommended condition in the attached resolution will require the applicant to record a deed restriction on the property that prohibits the demolition of the structure until January 1st, 2030, or at least 10 years from the date of recordation of the deed restriction, whichever occurs later. So it would be, that gives them time, if the commission recommends to the council tonight, it could potentially go in December, and then that would be a very quick turnaround for a recordation, but 10 years from January 1st or 10 years from when they record. The property, as mentioned, is located within the Monterey Street Historic District, and it's registered in the United States Department of the Interior National Register of Historic Places. The 1.5-story duplex at 424 and 426 6th Street was constructed around 1908, and this duplex is considered a contributing building to the Monterey Street Historic District. The contributing historical attributes include a front-facing gable roof, horizontal board siding, 2/2 double-hung windows, paired windows in the front gable, and a hip porch roof on the first story. I apologize, I don't have a photo. I tried to get a street view. There's a lot of beautiful large trees on this street. There's a large garage and a residence located behind the duplex. Oh, excuse me, I I used an old staff report. There was a residence, it was demolished as part of the original approval. So there's just a large garage and a shed near Wentz Alley. The garage is designated as a contributing building in the district as well. The single-family residence at 418 6th Street on the proposed parcel 2 is listed as a non-contributing building in the Monterey Historic District. As previously explained, the applicant has requested an exception for 2 of the subdivision lot standards, minimum lot width of parcel 1 and lot width to depth ratio of both parcels. Section 1608050 of the Hollister Municipal Code allows an applicant to request an exception of the requirements for subdivisions. The applicant's request from the previous approval in 2009 is included as part of your report, and that is still applicable to the same map today. The conflict with the subdivision standards are for the first one is to section 1602040B, which discusses that the depths of residential lots shall not exceed 3 times the average width. And the Planning Commission may grant exceptions where the commission determines that the terrain or property boundaries make this advisable. Both of the proposed lots would have a lot width to depth ratio that exceeds 3:1. Parcel 1 would be at a ratio of 4:1, and parcel 2 would have a lot width to depth ratio of 3.4:1. They do not comply with the section of the subdivision ordinance, and from the exception section, they must make that request of the council to permit an exception. And then the second exception that is being requested is to 1620040K, which indicates that each lot shall have a frontage of a public street of not less than 35 feet. Proposed parcel 1 is supposed to be 33 feet, so not 35. It allows, the section allows exceptions for flag lots and condominium plan unit developments. However, parcel 1 is not either of these and would be, again, 33.25 feet. And the applicant's requesting this exception. In the case of the project, the exceptions would be lot width to depth as described. And the Planning Commission can recommend that the City Council authorize the exception if there are 5 specific findings made for the exceptions. So the first finding is that there are special circumstances affecting the subdivision. And this project is located in the general plan Old Town Special Planning Area, where some of the first homes in the city of Hollister were constructed. The existing residences were placed on the property between 1908 and 1930, somewhere around that time. And the proposed property line between the residences, the duplex and the single family, establishes a 5.5-foot setback between the residences, which conforms to the setback requirements in the zoning and building codes, which again is 5 feet minimum. And increasing the width of parcel 1 to 35 feet would establish a non-conforming setback and would conflict with the building code unless the residences were modified or moved. And a modification to the duplex could diminish the historic character of the structure, and it's part of the district on the register. And then the lot width to depth ratio of 4:1 exceeds the standard, but the existing residences will comply with the setback requirements, and both lots have dual access from 6th Street and Wentz Alley. So I'll back up here just quickly so you can see that if this line was moved 1.75 feet this way, suddenly it would not comply with the setback requirements, and nothing is changed except for that this is not quite wide enough. So that's one of the exceptions. The second finding that's required to make exceptions to the subdivision code is that the granting of the exception will not defeat the objectives of the chapter and the adopted general plan of the city. So in Title 16 subdivisions, the standards are established to promote public health, safety, convenience, and general welfare, to regulate design of subdivisions, and to ensure compliance with Title 17 zoning as well as the general plan. The DRC did not identify any public health, safety, or nuisance issues associated with the request for the exception to the width of parcel 1 and lot width to depth ratios. And the zoning ordinance allows an exception to minimum lot size in the home office zoning district for properties with historic structures that comply with setbacks. These provisions were established to encourage retention of historic housing stock in the general plan Old Town Special Zoning District, or Special Planning Area, excuse me. And the residence on proposed parcel 1 is contributing the duplex to the Monterey Street Historic District. And the proposed subdivision will not warrant improvements that would require alteration to the site or the Old Town Zoning District Supplemental Design Standards in Section 17.450 of the zoning ordinance. And standards for setbacks between existing residences and off-street parking can be met even with the exceptions. The third finding for exceptions is that granting the exceptions will not injure other land in the area where the subdivision is located. This exception to the width and width to depth ratios doesn't result in a physical change to the area, and the residences were constructed over 85 years ago. There's no potential for additional residential development from the subdivision, and it will not result in a physical change to the character of the historic Old Town Special Planning Area of the general plan. The fourth finding is that this exception is necessary to protect a substantial property right of the subdivider. And this exception, if granted, will enable the applicant to subdivide existing developed property pursuant to the provisions allowed in the Old Town Zoning District in Table 1704-2 of the zoning ordinance. And again, these provisions were established to encourage retention of the historic housing stock in the Old Town Special Planning Area. And finally, the final finding is that the exception is not in conflict with the government code, and we as the Development Review Committee did not identify a conflict with the government code for this particular exception. The final thing that we want to talk about is that the density on the lot is currently legal non-conforming. There are 3 residences on the property. Again, the property is 9,524 square feet, so this is 13.72 units per acre as it currently exists. And that exceeds the 12 units per acre maximum of medium density residential zoning district. And if the parcel map is approved, the single family home on the 4,869 square feet parcel 2 will be conforming. It'll be at a density of 8.95 units per acre. However, the duplex, which is on the proposed parcel 1, 4,655 square feet, will be non-conforming at a higher density, which is 18.72 units per acre. The code is pretty ambiguous on whether the exemption to the minimum lot size for historic properties can also exempt the project from densities of the zoning district. While this project has received previous approval, staff was concerned that approving a subdivision on legal non-conforming lots exceeding the densities, of which there are many and we have inquiries about them, it will set a precedence for future projects. However, this project in particular was previously approved. They've been working on a previous condition to move a pole, I believe, move a utility pole for quite some time now. So it's, we're requesting, in addition to a recommendation for the project, which we are going to recommend approval or consideration to the council. But we would like further direction from the commission and from the council on possible amendments to clarify this exemption, either way, whether it does exempt from density or not, just to clarify this historic property exemption that exists in the code. And for example, like mentioned, the single family unit meets the density requirements, but it doesn't meet the minimum lot size and is ideal for the exemption as written. But the duplex meets the requirements for the exemption because it's historic, it meets the setbacks, and will have the deed restriction, but it's non-conforming for density. So it's unclear whether the exemption applies in this case. So it is a discretionary approval up to the commission and the council to decide. And findings were made for the approval of this case in 2009, and we are making those same findings for the approval of the project at this time. We'd just like to, moving forward, have a little bit of direction from our boards. So with that, staff is recommending that the council, let me get back here so I have my wording, that you review the applicant's request, receive all written and oral testimony regarding the proposal, and take the following action, which would be to approve a resolution recommending to the city council that it make findings for exceptions to lot width and depth ratio and lot width on parcel 2 pursuant to sections 1608-050 and 1620-040 of Title 16 subdivisions of the Hollister Municipal Code, and approving minor subdivision 2019-5, subject to the findings and conditions contained in the draft resolution. I know that was long and confusing probably, so if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
So I believe you said that looking at the duplex, the density would be 18 units per acre, is that correct?
That is correct.
What is the current designation for the downtown mixed use? What is
For
it?
downtown mixed use is
Or-
going to be 25 to 45 units per acre.
Okay. And so the house, what is the house density?
So on the proposed parcel 2, it's 8.95 units per acre. So it's
So
designated home office, so you consider it Old Town medium. So it's 8 to 12 is the appropriate
okay,
density.
so we're looking at, on the parcel 1, is you have a 7-foot setback to the left property line? There's a line down there towards the
yes.
street. That's not a that's just a dimension line or something. That's not a building, right? It doesn't go to the property line there.
It appears that there's 7 feet on the exterior property lines or the exterior setbacks, and then it's 5.5 here.
So you got
in the
7
interior.
feet and 5.5 on setback for duplex, side
Yeah.
yard, and 5.5 and 7 for the house. Just, I have to say is that the building code will allow 3 feet to the property line.
Correct.
But if you go 3 feet to the property line, you are not allowed any openings on that wall, and you are required to have a parapet unless you meet certain exemption requirements of fire rating. Just because I just wanted to clarify that on your staff report, that you are allowed by building code to go to 3 feet.
Well, that could possibly require modifications to the historic building, and so that would be unideal.
Right, because then you're looking at windows having to be
Right,
removed because
right.
you're not allowed
And I don't know
openings.
if there are windows on that side, but I would assume.
And then any projection within 5 feet, combustible projection overhangs would have to be fire rated.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
And that could trigger CEQA and environmental historic evaluations, particularly of this one.
Okay. Any other questions on the staff report? No further questions. I'll open up the public hearing now at 7:23.
Dan Hall.
Speaker cards?
Hi, I'm Ann Hall with Somebody New Engineering. I'm here on behalf of Fernando, the applicant. And as Eva went through, this had been an approved subdivision previously, in 2009. It kind of languished, I think, just generally partly due to some of the economics at the time, but also, again, as Eva mentioned, there was a problem with the power pole. One of the conditions was to move a power pole, and there was a lack of response from PG&E. At any rate, it has expired. but the application is essentially the same. These two houses exist. They have a fence between them already on the property. I mean, they sort of function as two buildings. They are in the old downtown. Ideally, the whole thing is from the street, nothing's going to change. Anybody walking by, it's going to look exactly the same, but it will give the opportunity to one of the renters to purchase the property, I think is the ultimate goal. And I appreciate all the work Eva did on finding all the variances, so it sounds like it's all justifiable. But in the long run, like I said, from the street, you won't see anything different. Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions for Ann?
What's the status on the power pole?
Once PG&E actually came and looked at it, they decided it was a drop pole they didn't need, and it's gone. So, so after all that, that's not an issue anymore.
Okay. Any other questions for Ann Hall? Thank you, Ann.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Any other speaker cards?
That's all the speakers for that item.
For this item number 4. Without any further speakers, I'll close the public hearing now at 7:24. Bring it back to the commission. I will say this, is that when you look at these older parts of the city of Hollister, some of these homes were built like this one I think was 1908 was one of the structures was built. You have, and you will find, if you go survey these older areas, a lot of these sites are non-conforming. They're smaller. Some of them are a lot of varying sizes, but it's commonplace that many of these sites do not comply with minimum lot size in the older sections of town. I know that because I've surveyed certain areas, and it's very commonplace for older areas of the city to have nonconformity such as this. And what we're looking at is we have a historic structure and another. These are structures that exist. That within that context, when we're considering nonconformity with the lot width and the lot ratio in the older areas, I don't think if we were to approve this, it's not going to be granting a special privilege to this applicant because of the context that we're considering this development. That's my take on it. Any other comments on this?
Kind of a feel-good story that a renter will be able to, purchase a home from an action like this. So it's kind of good.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to do that, so.
Yeah. Many situations when you're looking at, even if it was for older homes, older sites, trying to making improvements, sometimes you have difficulty factors that you have to consider when you're bringing up older structures to this and to conform to setbacks and fire rating requirements. Both these projects, from fire rating standpoint, at least you've got a minimum of 5 feet on the side yards, and the other, as you said, the other existing structure does have 5 feet. So you are, I would be a little bit, when you're looking at the lot width, you want to make sure that you have enough separation between these homes. Because these older homes, they don't have fire sprinklers. And if was it going to be a new house, a new construction, it would have to have fire sprinklers. But these are older homes, so you want to make sure that you at least have, I would say 5 feet. It's the minimum width, and especially when you have openings on those exterior walls. Any other comments on this item number 4? What's the pleasure of the Planning Commission on this? I'll go ahead and make the motion. I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve the minor subdivision number 2019-5 and the PC resolution number.
It will be resolution number 2019-55, and it would be for a recommendation to the council.
And 2019-55 with the recommendations to the city council. I know, and that includes the findings for the lot width variation and the lot ratio. Anything else that I'm missing on this?
Nope. It would be a recommendation for approval of the exceptions as well as approval of the minor subdivision.
To move this to the city council, a recommendation for approval of the exceptions in the minor subdivision with the draft findings in this resolution. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Item number 4 has been approved.
And if I may, before we move on, just on the direction that staff is looking for, just your thoughts on this particular exemption, the note 6, that allows for the minimum lot size reduction, on whether we should work to clarify if it exempts from density. Or if it would be, for example, on this project, you have kind of the two situations, right? This individual house doesn't meet the 5,000, but it does meet the density of 8 to 12. And if this duplex was a single family, it would also be perfect for the exemption because it doesn't meet the minimum lot size, but it would meet the density at a single family. But there is no direction in the code on whether non-conforming densities should be allowed this exception, because again, then you open up to allow dividing on non-conforming densities and things like that. So your thoughts?
My thinking is this. I'm being site specific here for this particular parcels, these two parcels, because I'm not, in my view, by us approving this application, we're not opening the doors, widely speaking, to applicants to do this, because unless you have findings, and I think that you've addressed these findings, and that this is site specific to this application only. That's what I'd like to go, and if that's okay, that's a clarification on what my motion is that
it doesn't need to be part of the motion. We're just separately looking for direction on how
when
we
you go
should interpret this
as
code.
direction to the city council, that's my caveat on that. Am I clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Eva. You did a great job on that. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mary Paxton, for your 2009 staff report.
She's up in Washington. Hope she's doing well up there. I miss Mary Paxton, by the way. Yeah, she did a great job. Okay, without any further ado, we go into item number 5, the amendments to Planning Commission Resolution 2019-3, approving tentative map number 2018-4. I'm going to read this, and then we're going to, I'll get consensus on whether, I know it says that you want to continue this, but I'll read the item, then we'll have consensus from the Planning Commission to continue it, and then I'll open up the public hearing to the next Planning Commission. Is that correct, Jason? Is that correct procedure on that? Okay, thank you. So I'll read item number 5. Clarist Park, the applicant is requesting amendments to conditions of approval of Planning Commission Resolution number 2019-3 for tentative map application number 2018-4, approved by the City of Hollister Planning Commission at its regular meeting of January 24th, 2019. The approval consists of subdividing 3 parcels consisting of 207.65 total acres into 60 lots ranging in size from 1.68 acres to 11.30 acres. The project site is located north of the Hollister Airport, bounded by the airport runway to the south and southwest, existing agricultural lands to the west and north, and San Felipe Road to the east, and the airport support AS and industrial business park IBP zoning districts and is further identified as San Benito County Assessor Parcels Number 014-090-058, 058-010-006, 050-010-007, and 050-010-008. CEQA is Environmental Impact Report. Staff will be requesting a continuance of this item to the December 19th, 2019 Planning Commission meeting. Eva or Amber?
Sorry, like, we pretty much covered it in our
Covered it?
review.
Okay.
Yes, with that, staff is requesting the continuance of this item to December 19th Planning Commission meeting and is recommending that the Planning Commission take the following actions. 1, open the public hearing and receive public comment. 2, keep the public hearing open and continue the public hearing for amendments to Planning Commission Resolution Number 2019-3, approving tentative map number 2018-4, Clearest Park, to the December 19th, 2019 Planning Commission meeting.
And prior to opening the public hearing, we would need consensus of the Planning Commission to go ahead and continue the item. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. What is the consensus of the commission on continuing the item? Do we need a vote, Jason, on this?
I actually would like to, I missed a little bit of what Amber said, but I believe she expressed it exactly correctly as I heard it, the order in which we should do things. If she's able, I don't have a copy of that here in front of me.
So
But
open
if you could-
first
Oh.
and then continue?
Open, receive comment, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And then
Yeah.
continue.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then instead of closing, continue.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I will open up the public hearing now at 7:34. Speaker cards on this item.
Ann Hall,
I had included this with the intention of talking about it, but if it's being continued, we could talk about it next month. So
Okay.
I put it on my speaker card by accident.
Good. Thank you, Ann. Any other speakers on this item?
that's it.
So that will continue the public hearing on item number 5 and 2, the December 19th, 2019 Planning Commission meeting.
Yes, and I'd ask for a motion to that effect.
Okay, I entertain a motion to continue this item.
To December 19th.
To December 19th.
2019.
December 19th, 2019.
I'll make the motion. Yeah, I'll make the motion to continue the, keep the public hearing open and continue the public hearing for amendments to the Planning Commission Resolution Number 2019-3, for approving tentative map number 2018-4 for the Clearest Park to our December 19th, 2019 Planning Commission meeting.
Do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item number 5 has been continued to December 19th, 2019. Now, on item number 6, the item Site and Architectural Review number 2019-16, it says David Huboy, so since Huboy Architecture did provide architectural services for item number 6, I therefore will recuse myself due to conflict of economic interest and ask Vice Chair Seth Munzer to go ahead and preside, and I will, as I am recused. Thank you.
Can I request a short 5-minute break?
I think so.
Do you want to grant it, or you want me to?
Go ahead.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a 5-minute break.
Okay.
That's the first, it had to have happened recently, but. I had to go wash my hands, I couldn't do it anymore. It's done. Yeah, we're good.
All right, we're gonna call this meeting back to order. Item number 6, Site and Architectural Review. Number 2019-16, David Huboy, the applicant, is requesting site and architectural approval to construct three-story apartment buildings. 2 of the buildings will consist of 11 units and 1 building will consist of 6 units, with the first floor being a gym, community room, laundry room, and a lounge area. The project is located on a 40,774 square feet at the west corner of Ladd Lane and Hillock Drive within the neighbor mixed-use NMU zoning district, further identified as San Benito County Assessors, parcel number 057-230-013, and this is CEQA mitigated negative declaration.
Thank
Staff report?
you. Me again. Apologies for the long ones tonight. So yes, the applicant is requesting approval to construct three-story apartment buildings on a 49,774 square foot lot, which is approximately 1.14 acres. And it is located at the northwest corner of Ladd Lane and Hillock Drive in the NMU Neighborhood Mixed Use Zoning District. The 2 northern buildings, Building 10 and Building 12 on the plans, will each have 11 units. And then the third building, Building 11 on the plans, will have 6 units for a total of 28 apartment units. The 2 identical buildings, 10 and 12, on the northeast section of the property the first floor will have 3 units, which are either accessible or adaptable 2-bedroom units, ranging from 882 square feet to 906 square feet in size. And actually, I did this a little out of order here, but I do have floor plans. And then the second and third floors of those units, or of those buildings, will have 4 1-bedroom units each, so 4 on the second floor, 4 on the third floor, ranging from 620 square feet to 645 square feet. Building 11, again, which has 6 units, this is the southern building. It will have communal spaces and amenities for residents on the first floor, and residential units on the second and third floors. There will be a gym, laundry area, community room, and a lounge area for the residents on the communal first floor, which is a total of 2,680 square feet. And then the second and third floors having 3 units, each for 6 total. 1 700 square foot 1-bedroom unit, 1 1,700 square foot 2-bedroom unit, and 1 1,098 square foot 2-bedroom unit on each of the 2 floors. This project is an extension, per se, of a previously approved project, SNA 2013-2 and tentative map 2013-1 by the same applicant. The previous project consisted of apartments, which are currently under construction directly to the west of the property, and then courthouse or courtyard homes, which are occupied, and single-family homes, which are also built and occupied. And then that approval also had a 12,410 square foot medical office building, which is proposed to the south of the site. And then a 20,500 square foot commercial retail building on the subject site. The applicant is proposing a new development over this previously approved retail component of the previous project to expand the number of apartment units in the area. And the proposed apartment units, while having amenities on the site in the gym, community room, open space, etc., it will also have access to the pool and other amenities that are available in the apartments that are previously approved and under construction. Those aren't being counted as part of this project. It's self-contained to meet requirements, but just so you know, it'll have access. For buildings 10 and 12, they are, again, identical. So their main entrances and the upper floor stair access will face west, which is towards the on-site parking areas. They'll be stucco with concrete tile roofing all of the buildings. The front elevation here will contain a central door which accesses the central unit rooms, and 2 staircases on either side which access the upper floors. The staircases, they'll be complemented by projecting archway entrance features, and the left and right elevations, north and south of the units, will contain the entrances to the left and right ground floor units, and they'll have a private patio area at the front of each of those units. And then that's located near the rear of the building to provide privacy, so more towards Lad Lane. And then on the second and third floors, the end units will have their private corner balcony area located above the first floor's entryway. And then the rear elevation of these 2 buildings will face east toward Lad Lane. One will face the front of the other building, and then one faces towards Lad Lane. And these units will have private patios on the elevation, and with the corner units patios again wrapping around the sides of the building. The facade will be broken up by various projections and recessed areas, the patios, and varied roof lines, as you can see. For Building 11, this is the 6-unit building on the south, closest to Hillock. The west elevation will have the staircase located on the northern corner, which has kind of arched windows, as you can see on the second and third floor, with an archway entrance into the staircase itself. There'll be kind of a complementary projection and arch detailing on the southern corner of the building, where there are upper units, as well as the lounge area on the first floor. The entrance doorway will be located there. The central section of the building will be recessed, and it will have a common balcony area for the upper floors where all of the unit entrances will be off of. So you come out the stairs, and it's kind of a patio balcony that your front door is accessed off of that. And then there are vertical column details that kind of divide it into thirds, the section, and they run from the roof all the way down to the floor. The southern unit will have balconies that wrap around the corner that you can see from this elevation as well. And then the north elevation will have a double door entrance into the gym with 2 side windows for the gym area as well on the first floor. And then a large living room and small bathroom window for each of the second and third floor units. And then you can also see the rear patios of the upper units from this elevation. And the eastern elevation will face towards Lad Lane and have the common open space area in between. So there'll be large paneled double door entrances to the gym, the community room, and into the central community room area as well. And so the central entrance will be covered by a kind of trellis and the projection of the second and third stories above. And it has windows for the residential units, as you can see. The private balconies are also on this elevation, and they do wrap around the corners. And then I realized as I was putting this together that I did not talk about the south elevation. It was in your plans. There are no entrances to any of the first floor rooms on this side, but they're kind of architectural recesses, and then the exits to the balconies on the upper floor units you can see on this elevation. For landscaping, there will be landscaping throughout the parking lot and the property boundaries in the form of various trees and shrubs, flowers, and grasses. And there will be also some vines planted along the existing northern wall, separating it from Kmart. And then that's a commercial property to the north, and also separating it to between the parking lot and the property to the west. The property to the west, again, is currently under construction, and that is new apartments by the same applicant. On the east side of the property, the applicant's proposing 8,125 square feet of outdoor common open space area with several picnic tables and kind of passive recreation and shade area for the residents. The applicant is proposing 59 parking spaces, including 2 ADA and 2 electric vehicle parking spaces. They're required to provide 49 parking spaces, so they're exceeding by 10. The 49 comes from 1.5 parking spaces per unit, and then also 1 guest parking for every 4 units. And so they're meeting and exceeding that parking requirement. And then they're also proposing 3 bicycle racks, 1 for each of the 3 buildings, and each of the racks holds multiple bicycles. You can see one here in the landscape plan. The code section 17860 requires 10% of the vehicle parking spaces as bicycles. So 10% of 49 is 5 spaces. So they're meeting and exceeding the 5 bicycle spaces required. Moving into common and private open space. Section 1704040, as recently amended by the commission, requires 500 square feet of open space per unit, and that space is split between private and common. So the total requirement for 28 units is 14,000 square feet, and then the applicant is providing at least a 64 square foot balcony for each unit. That meets the minimum private open space requirement. And then some of the balconies are a little bit larger, but total, all the private open space is 1,892 square feet. And the remaining of the 14,000 then for common open space is 12,108 square feet that is required. And so with the gym and all of those indoor amenities, those count as common open space per the new code. It was really intended to be a common area that's accessible for recreation or kind of passive things. So there's 2,365 square feet of indoor common open space. And then there's 8,125 square feet of exterior outdoor passive open space. That's a total of 10,490 square feet, which is less than the 14,000. It's required for 1 major amenity. They have a gym and a lounge and passive open space. So they're exceeding the amenities. It's just the physical space that they are lacking on. However, one thing that we brought up with the applicant is that they were less on their space. However, they're greater on their parking. And 10 of the parking stalls that they exceed by is 1,800 square feet. And they could have proposed, and still can if it's the pleasure of the commission, propose to passively landscape this area. However, I think staff and the applicant agree that parking is valuable. And in a development like this where they're meeting, they have more amenities than are required, they have the private open space, they have an actual open common area. We feel that it's our recommendation to kind of include that area as their open space square footage, but to keep parking as even an amenity, if you will, because it is a valuable asset to a development like this. So if the commission considers the 1,800 square foot in addition as common open space, they're meeting the square footage, the amenities, and all of the requirements. For previous approvals, there have been several. So on August 18th of 2008, the City Council adopted a resolution which adopted a mitigated negative declaration, a mitigation monitoring and reporting program for the General Plan Amendment 2007-1 and Rezone 2007-1. This was for kind of the larger area. I believe it was about 8 acres that was discussed before, which is where the apartments that are under construction were The retail that this project is replacing was the medical office and some of the single-family homes. And so this analyzed a 43,560 square feet of commercial and 144 residential units on this larger project site. And then at the time, there was a general plan amendment because it was designated, I think it was R1, and it was changed to be commercial office because the new general plan had changed it into a mixed use zoning designation, but that in 2008, the general plan was adopted, but the zoning ordinance was not. So they were working on the zoning ordinance and creating those mixed use zones. So it was designated commercial office with the intent to change it to neighborhood mixed use, and it's currently neighborhood mixed use now that the zoning ordinance was adopted in 2009. So there was a change of zoning for this project, and the CEQA analysis was done at that time. And then on June 26th of 2013, the Planning Commission adopted the Site and Architectural Review that we discussed, 2013-3. Again, medical office, a retail building, 63 apartment units which are under construction, and then a total of 38 single-family homes. Some of them are smaller courtyard homes. Those are built and occupied. The applicant has indicated that it's been difficult to find commercial tenants and funding to start the commercial. And for this reason, this is why the applicant has returned to propose to replace the commercial retail with the residential component. The medical office is still the same to the south of the site. During the 2008 process of amending the general plan, talking about CEQA for the project and the analysis, the mitigative neg deck was prepared and adopted, and it was rezoned from medium density to high density on the west half, and then the eastern half, again, is mixed use. And so the mitigated neg deck was circulated for a 20-day review period, which was sufficient to the standard at the time. Now it's a 30-day review period, and comments were received. And the mitigated neg deck contemplated a maximum build-out of 144 residential units and 43,560 square feet of commercial office retail space. The S&A was for 32,900 square feet of commercial office and retail space, which is less. And then 101 residential units, the 63 and the 38, again, less than the 144 previously analyzed. And then this current proposal is replacing some of the commercial with 28 residentials. So there's a total of 129 residential units on the overall analyzed site, which is still within the boundaries of what was analyzed at the time. So it's within the scope of the adopted MND, and it doesn't require supplemental CEQA review. However, we have included a condition to have the applicant prepare or pay for, and the city will select a consultant, a supplemental traffic study to analyze the previously studied intersections and to make sure that the pro rata share or any needed warranted improvements are done at any affected intersections. And otherwise, it's subject to all of the mitigation measures from the adopted MND, and they're incorporated into the draft resolution. The project site, it's located within the Alquist-Priolo zone, which is the earthquake fault hazard zone. I'm just going to go back to here. The fault runs kind of along this way. There was a fault investigation conducted in August 2008 on the property during the MND review, and there's a 50-foot non-buildable zone set back to the west of the project site, but it doesn't cross this project site. If it it may like clip this corner here, the 50-foot non-buildable zone, but it's in the landscape and parking areas. And so that you received a fault map in your report as well. For the general plan, again, it's designated as mixed use, which allows for between 25 and 40 dwelling units per acre, as well as commercial uses. And the project site is 1.143 acres, which can support 28 to 45 units. And this project is proposing 28, so it is consistent with the general plan designation. And with that, staff recommends that you receive all written and oral testimony, review the applicant's request, and approve site and architectural review 2019-16, subject to the findings and conditions contained in the draft resolutions. Are there any questions for me?
Great, thank you, Eva. Any questions for staff on this project? Okay, if there's no questions for staff, we'll go ahead and open up the public hearing at 8:03. Any speaker cards on this item?
We have one, Ann Hall.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Ann Hall. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. This project, as Eva described, is apartments in a continuation of some apartments that are currently under construction. And one comment I have on the conditions, which we didn't really notice till we got here, is on condition 65. It talks about all units shall be provided with a minimum, at minimum, a connection for washer and dryer units. Not all of the apartments are designed with a washer and dryer unit, so we'd like to remove this. But I would like to say part of the amenities we're providing in this is a laundry area, a common laundry area. So some of the smaller units will not have their own washer dryer hookup, but we are providing laundry units on site. So, but the wording of this, we would like to have this condition removed because we are providing the laundry amenity. And then the mitigation measures listed are from the previous subdivision, and that, you know, the mitigations are fine in that they do apply to this whole thing. However, the number of those conditions, particularly the ones listed here, were completed when the subdivision, they had to be completed for that subdivision to have been, that map had finalized and approved. So while we recognize those mitigation measures are still in effect, we also feel we've complied with them as part of the previous final map. So just wanted to make that note. Do you have any questions for the applicant?
I do. You said that, how many of the units won't have a washer and dryer? Do you know?
Do you know exactly? I do not. I do not.
Okay.
No.
And then how many washer and dryers are you guys going to be providing for as an amenity? Would it be similar, like, because if you have, say you have 10 apartments,
Mm-hmm.
are you going to have 10 washer and dryers, or are you going to have half? 'Cause I know not everybody does laundry at the exact same time. Is there like a
Ratio.
like, is there like a ratio that they're supposed to be per apartments for that kind of thing?
I don't believe there's any ratio in the code, because it's not a requirement to provide a laundry
It's not a
room.
requirement, so. Okay.
So, in that respect, we still consider it an amenity because it's not
Required.
required.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Ann.
Thank-
If we have no other questions, no other speaker cards, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 8:06. Any other discussions or questions for staff on this item? Okay.
I have just a comment, I guess, about the parking versus open space. I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of people who are moving into Hollister, they need more parking. I mean, I know that we want the open space, but they're gonna want the parking more than they're gonna want the open space. And as you're saying, 1.5 cars per apartment is not enough parking. Most people have 2 to 3 people living in an apartment, especially where we're in Hollister, 3, 4 people living in an apartment. So I personally agree with leaving it how it is without changing it to a landscaping open space, leaving it as the parking. Because otherwise, where are they gonna park? Along the street. If you take away the parking, they're gonna start parking, and they're gonna start parking into the neighborhoods that are in the surrounding area, so.
No, I agree. That's a valid point in which they have also had the shared ground with the other apartments to share the amenities. So I agree with that, to leave those additional parking stalls. Any comments or questions from you, Kevin? Okay, what is the pleasure of the commission on this item?
I'll make a motion that we approve site and architectural review application number 2019-16, subject to the findings and conditions contained in draft resolution 2019
I believe we're on 56.
56, with the exception of the removal of condition 65, requiring washer and dryer for each unit.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
So motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
That item passes. Congratulations on the project. And I'll get Mr. Hubel.
Who made this mess here? Oh, thank you, Vice Chair Munzer, for presiding
pleasure. You're welcome.
in my absence there. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I believe that concludes the resolution, the agenda there for the public hearings. So we go to new business.
No
Any
new
business
business.
to report?
No new business.
No new business? Old business, we have an item, the Chapel Road Master Plan and Study Area.
Mr. Huboy, I'll just
yes.
announce that when this item was on the agenda, I had recused myself.
Yes,
I'm
as I
related to
recall.
one of the applicants involved in this, so I'm going to go ahead and step out while this is discussed.
Very good, thank
Thank
you,
you.
Seth. You're welcome. Okay. I don't know how we could do without you, Seth. Okay, old business, item number 1. Chapel Road Master Plan and Study Area, City of Hollister. The City of Hollister is currently preparing a master plan study area consistent with the 2005 through 2023 City of Hollister General Plan for the area located along State Route 25, Hollister Bypass, Santa Ana Road to the south, North Chapel Road to the west, and State Route 25 to the east and north. Approval of the master plan does not require any of the existing land uses to change. However, pending approval of the master plan, any future development within the master plan study area shall substantially conform to the approved master plan. The project site consists of 13 contiguous parcels totaling 117.72 acres, of which 17.43 acres are designated North Gateway for commercial land uses and 100.29 acres are designated low-density residential in the City of Hollister General Plan. The properties are further identified as San Benito County Assessor's Parcels Number 019-170-083, 019-170-084, 019-330-005, 019-330-011, 019-350-006, 019-350-008, 019-350-009, 019-350-010, 019-350-011, 019-350-012, 019-350-013, and 019-350-014. CEQA Environmental Impact Report.
Thank you. Yes,
You're
so, as you're aware, at the October 24th, 2019 Planning Commission meeting, Abraham Prado and Sandy Vance from Kimley Horn presented the Chapel Road Master Plan, which the city has been preparing. At this time, none of the components that were, or the comments that were received during the public hearing and from the commission warranted any changes to the actual drawing of the plan, the land use, or the circulation. And so we haven't made any changes to that, and Sandy isn't back here to re-report. But we did get a written comment, staff did, that asked that there be consideration for limiting the housing height or stories along Chapel Road and Santa Ana Road next to existing neighborhoods in the area. And this would allow it to kind of better transition between the existing neighborhoods and new development as areas in this plan, if it is adopted, develop. And so staff recommends that a policy be included in addition to the other policies that we've discussed previously in the master plan to limit the heights between neighborhood transitions, and that's consistent with policies that we have in our municipal code, but we can make it pretty strong in the master plan if it is the recommendation of the commission and ultimately the consideration of the council. We talked last time about the school districts, and staff is in process of arranging a meeting with the superintendent of the Hollister School District, Diego Ochoa, to further discuss the commission's concern regarding future development and its potential impacts to the school district. But as mentioned at the previous meeting, with Mr. Diego Ochoa, regarding this master plan, Mr. Ochoa noted that the school district is focusing its attention on the Rancho Santana School in the Santana Ranch subdivision, and after that is going to be concentrating its efforts, even in its long range, to expand their existing facilities. He noted that they do have capacity and that their plan is to increase capacity rather than increase a school site. Again, we haven't had a chance to meet with him since the last meeting, so to discuss if they maybe even in a further projected long-range plan than what we discussed had a potential site. I know the applicants, there's a couple of applicants who are kind of in the process and ready to develop, not the whole thing, but those are, and they have been talking to the school district as well. I think they're trying to get letters of support for development, but I think that the school district is supportive of the plan. But it's, again, important to note that this is a master plan approval to guide future development. It is not a development approval. And so all development would be subject to all the planning process that you guys go through and that we go through, the approvals necessary and subject to the municipal code. But it would be additionally subject to guidelines adopted by the master plan that may be beyond or more strict than the code itself in this particular area. And then at the previous planning commission meeting, we indicated that we wanted to bring it back to you today for an additional public hearing and then a formal recommendation to the council on the commission's consideration of the plan. However, due to holidays and deadlines have been moved, and we were trying to get it on the December 2nd, and I apologize because what you received was that we were putting it on the December 2nd, but we didn't even make the deadline, so we could have had a formal recommendation, but we don't have a resolution for you. So that deadline was advanced but then we didn't make it. So we're going to take it on the December 16th meeting to the city council. But now in our staff report, we can actually put an informal recommendation from the commission at least, even though we don't have a resolution. So in place of a formal recommendation, again, we just want to hear your comments as staff. We'd like to recommend that you open a public hearing. This has been properly noticed in the newspaper, so even though it's old business, we can still have a public hearing, get any comment. If anything, if you recommend any changes to the council, we can take that into consideration. It just won't be in the form of a resolution. So that's kind of where we're at. If you had any further comments on it, we'd like to hear them, and we'd like to open it up to the public if we would wish.
Yeah, just thank you, Eva, on the discussion with the school district, the school Hollister School District, Mr. Ochoa. Now you said he had enough capacity. You say, in other words, they didn't feel that with this master plan and the addition the housing component, that there would be a requirement. I just want to make clear that I understand this correctly, that there would not be a requirement to expand their existing school facility?
Correct. That is my understanding of the conversation that we had. So this, as with any other development, if development moved forward on the property, they're subject to the school district's impact fees, the Hollister School District as well as the high school district. And those impact fees, the goals of the school district is to complete Rancho Santana, which is what he called it at the meeting. I don't know if that's its official name or still its name, but to complete Rancho Santana, and then utilizing their impact fees, their master plan, their long-range plan is to expand current facilities and current schools, not to create new schools. And so he didn't seem that it didn't seem like they were going to be increasing their impact fees, or like that's not what the kind of feel I got. It seemed like they were comfortable with what development pays them, and they had a plan for how they're using it.
Okay, so just when they do build each individual house, is part of the fees that have to be paid are impact fees to the school?
Correct, and it is a square footage fee, I believe, for the school district.
Okay. I remember when I was reading through there was the park ratio of development to acres of park. Now that did not include that portion that was just outside that planning area, that park.
The neighborhood park.
The neighborhood
on the
park.
Screen.
Did that include the neighborhood park?
It does not include the neighborhood park. So the neighborhood park, we talked about it with Sandy from Kimley Horn, and so it's included in his drawings. However, that would be something separate. We'd like to, as staff, ask the council if that's something that they would want to possibly establish a benefit area of some kind for. And that would be a much larger benefit area, and but it would require kind of a separate, probably capital improvement project sometime in the future, or and then establishing that benefit area. It would probably be much larger. It would probably extend to the west of San Felipe, and probably a lot of these parcels that are north of Santa Ana Road that aren't considered for inclusion in the city limits at this time with our general plan and things like that. So it would be a much further distant project if it was something the council wanted to dream about now to do in the future. But designing this kind of to be able to connect to something like that in the future was kind of the intent.
Boy, I'd like to see that happen in the future. Any other questions for the staff report?
I do. I don't know if you got an email, but I received an email from Diego Ochoa today, addressing the planning commission about the enrollment with the schools, and he did give me some information about where the homes that are going to be built in the division here are going to be led into the Gavilan Hills School. But that Gavilan Hills School is also going to be, from what I understand in the email, is going to be moved into the Santana Rancho, or the Rancho Santana Elementary School. So somehow they're all going to funnel that way. And he did say about busing, they would obviously, because it's a 3.5 mile from Chapel Road to the, you know, Rancho Santana School. It's about a 3.5 mile. Kids can't walk that far. So he did say that they would be busing the children at that point, because Gavilan Hills is going to have to split from HDLA because HDLA has grown exponentially. They need their own school. Gavilan Hills is now getting overcrowded. So he did kind of give me that information. He did also invite me to come speak with him, which I plan on doing, because all these developments that are being built are going to be having families, and where are these kids going to go to school? So as a planning commissioner, I'd like to know where these schools are going to be and how they're going to be filled. He did say that there's still some room in some of the other schools that they need to redo their boundaries. There's a possibility of redoing their boundaries, and they're going to meet with the different schools to do that as well. He did say that he believes that new development should include additional funding, so adding the impact fees to help improve our current existing facilities. So any impact fees are not going to go towards a new school. He wants them to go towards building up our current facilities to get them to where this new school is going to be, because it's going to be so much better than what our existing schools have. So that's what his hope is from the impact fees from these homes, is to go to our existing schools instead of building a new school. But I said I would also, which I feel more comfortable now, because it's 600 homes. It's a lot of people that could be potentially moving. Having a idea of where the kids are going to be going to school is very important. So I'm glad that he was able to address that, and then said I'm going to also meet with him more for future, because I'd like to know where we're going to have a development here at Calaveras. Where are they going to go if they can't fit at Calaveras? Are we going to move some things around? So he was very forthcoming and gave a lot of information. So
That's great.
I'm
No,
glad
we
that he's
didn't get the
working
email.
with
so
everybody.
That's great.
So.
Great, thank you, Carrie, for sharing that. Thank you. Kevin?
Yeah, could you refresh my memory about the neighborhood park? Who's going to, you know, manage it?
So that probably won't even be part of the master plan, because that's not the acreage of the development. But if it was something that the council wanted to establish some kind of benefit area or future plan for, possibly, like, so a benefit area would establish kind of a use range, and as projects develop in that area, they would pay in a fair share towards the benefit area, and then eventually the city would have money to build this park. And building this park is an even bigger project, because it would involve undergrounding stormwater facilities that are there and things like that. So the council would have to want to move in a direction to kind of establish this as a long-term future project, and it would become a city park at some point.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on the report? No further questions. Open up the public hearing now at 8:25. Victor.
Victor Gomez.
Honorable Chairman Huboy, half of the commission, good evening. Victor Gomez here, representing a number of the applicants on the residential side of this master plan area. I wasn't going to speak, but I did want to share some information with you, and thank you, Carrie, for sharing that information from Diego. Last Friday afternoon, I actually met with Aaron Bezzetta, the new facilities director for the Hollister School District, and with Diego last Friday afternoon. And I'm happy that he shared that information. He shared that identical information with me. Not only, I was a little bit surprised too, because not only did they indicate that they weren't pursuing a site here in this master plan area, but they're also kind of still thinking about how they're going to expand in other areas. So a year and a half ago, as you probably remember, the Hollister School District did adopt a vision, a plan of where they may grow in the future, and that is likely going to change substantially. In addition to that, he did tell me and reinforce that their efforts are really focused around the expansion of, the development of Rancho Santana, and that's going to be extremely helpful. With the extension of North Street, at least geographically, The residential component of this will likely be, depending on capacity, would likely be using Calaveras School because it's a little bit closer and just straight down the street, not having to get onto Fairview. But obviously that depends on capacity there as well. I do represent Navigator Charter Schools, Hollister Prep. They're another client of mine, and I know that our Hardin is at full capacity right now. So we're having to obviously look at our expansion plan from our charter school to see what we're going to do there. But so the schools are being impacted, and I know Carrie, you and Roxanne did bring up those topics last time. And so I did take the opportunity to meet with Diego one more time to get some more information. He did tell me overall that they are roughly at, for build out, roughly at about 70% capacity for build out. I'm not talking about people, I'm talking about facilities. So they do have the opportunity to grow within their existing sites. And to be completely honest with you, that's super smart, right? To be able to use the existing facilities without necessarily taking away, the athletic fields that they have, but really grow up. I'm working on a couple of projects in Mountain View, another one in Milpitas, and we have to work really closely with the schools there. And you'd be surprised how small of a footprint schools have these days, and most of them are going to two to 3 stories in their schools, kind of like what we're seeing with the new extended development of the high school, right, where you're seeing traditionally now 2-story buildings to be able to limit the footprint of these developments. So we'll continue to work closely with the school district, but we'd be happy to receive your blessing here today to allow us to start annoying Councilmember Lenore and the rest of them, and get their support. Councilmember Lenore, when she was a planning commissioner, was pretty adamant about what she expected out of this plan. So I'm a little fearful of going back and meeting with her. Hopefully she's looking at this thing favorably as of now, but I am excited also to share with you that our vesting tentative maps are looking great. They're looking really good. And I think they're going to be subdivisions that you're going to be happy to see, especially with this linear park component. I think that's going to be really neat. This is your North Gateway. It's going to be important for you to have the aesthetics that you need in this area. That's going to be super neat. I think the council is going to be very happy to see that as well. If you have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them, but thank you for your time.
Thank you. Vic. Any questions for Victor?
No, I don't have any questions, but just with regards to the Calaveras. Calaveras shares a school with AAA. So there are 2 campuses, just like Gavilan Hills and HDLA. So I drive by it every day. I live over there, and we have a lot of homes going in right now. There's a whole new development being built, traffic. I mean, I think we have the one right now that they're building, 2 that they just finished building, and 1 that we just approved not too long ago to bring into the city to eventually become a development. So that's kind of concerning about moving this development of homes for children to go to that school. Maybe I might even reach out to the principal myself and just go talk to them and ask them what their thoughts are too. Because I said I'd like to involve everybody because we're one big community, and so I don't want to impact one school over another. But I appreciate that. So that's something that
And I don't know, Carrie, if you mentioned it, but I think you may have, but I do know that, yeah, HDLA will be expanding, and so that's not necessarily adding capacity. But one additional thing is when I talked to Diego and Aaron on Friday, obviously they get more bang for their buck out of the impact fees that we'll be paying if they use existing facilities for growth. So it's a good plan that they have moving forward.
And that's what when I talked to him, I felt the same thing. And sometimes it's better to have more information. That's why I have to ask all these questions, because I may not know something, but something will click. And when he said that, building up our existing facilities, I know that HDLA and Gavilan Hills could really use some upgrades. Calaveras because they're older schools. They're from older developments. They're older schools. I said but they share campuses, so it's kind of hard when you have to have 2 schools in one community, which we try very hard to work with. But I know that HDLA is going to be growing. We need 6 more classrooms within the next 3 years. We need 6 more classrooms, and there's nowhere to go besides moving Gavilan Hills out of the facility. So I don't know the existence at Calaveras because I actually have children at HDLA, so I have a little bit more inside knowledge of that. But I don't know much about Calaveras, so I mean I said reach out to that.
Calaveras opened in 1984. I don't think it's changed at all. I went to first grade there the first year it opened, Yeah, scary. I grew up on the corner of Miller and Buena Vista. My mom still lives there, and I don't think the school's changed at all. So yeah, facility improvements are certainly needed. I just dated myself, but that's all right.
You're still a young man.
Thank you.
Thank you, Victor. Any other speakers on this item?
Nothing. No one else.
Okay. I will close public hearing. It's 8:32. I just, I know we talked about this and some of the specifics last time, and I remember, the Boulevard Promenade feature I really liked a lot. We got into some specific discussions, as I recall, like along Highway 25, pedestrian protection and all that, but that's getting into a little bit finer detail. I think what's really important to point out is that the general plan designation of this is low-density residential in North Gateway. So we're looking at a kind of a plan of using that same land use designation for low-density residential with a retail component that would be consistent with those designations, the North Gateway and the low-density residential. Now, what came about is the request to make those low-profile homes along Santa Ana and Chapel, I believe. Those areas that are on Chapel, they're all single-family homes, single-story homes, aren't they? If I recall.
I believe so, for the most part,
It's
except
pretty
for
much-
the Maple Park new construction, which is here. These are two-story homes.
So that request would respect the surrounding context of Santa Ana and Chapel to keep the profile of those homes to single-story, I would.
Correct.
Am I correct?
Yes, and it would just be kind of in addition to the code policy. We do have a code policy that talks about keeping in character with existing neighborhoods, but we would be able to implement a policy that pretty much states that there'll be single story near the single story.
I have to say,
existing
with
homes.
Carol Lenore here, Councilwoman Carol Lenore, when she was on the Planning Commission, she was very, very specific about that and adamant that, and she pointed that out. And I totally, agree with her on that, to the scale of the neighborhood and the adjoining properties should be respected when you're talking about two-story versus single-story. And I appreciate, Carol, you being here tonight. I recall your discussions on that. And I totally agree with that, too. And I agree with that request, so I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, and one thing as well is that these are R1 LPZ, so they're low density performance overlay, and so that allows for kind of variation in the product type and lot type and size, and so having a kind of policy like that might encourage maybe larger lots or similar lots to what exists here, and maybe something a little bit seemingly higher density where your overall density is still low on the property. So the
Right.
performance overlay kind of encourages those types of developments where they're varied across, and so having a policy to kind of keep in character with the existing, where you're close to the existing, might encourage something a little bit tighter and a different product type on the rest of the property as well.
Right. I guess, and when we get into that next step, the design development based on this master plan, then we're going to be talking about.
And it comes
more-
to you as a tentative map and site
It'll
and
be-
architectural,
it'll be coming back
et
to
cetera.
us?
Yeah,
Okay.
it would
All right.
come to you as a development,
Mhm.
would come to you, and it would come to you as a development without the master plan, right? There are a few that are annexed in, and they would come to you with a tentative map or site and architectural, whatever is appropriate for what they're proposing. But in this way, you have another guiding document and policy
So
to judge
this
and
then, if
compare.
this goes and the city council abides this, then this will be part of a kind of a specific plan of the general plan and to guide the development in that area.
Yes, it will be adopted against this particular area with particular policies and guidelines, and
Is that kind of like, would it be like an appendix to the general plan? Kind of?
it's not necessarily an appendix. It's not quite as intricate as like a full specific plan document, but it is a master plan that's adopted against these parcels, and so it would be a specific plan in as much aspect as it is specific, right? It doesn't talk about what exactly the wall or fence along 25 is, but it talks about what kind of circulation we need to see and what the park needs to kind of feel like, and so it's a master plan and specific plan as in its capacity to be specific, if that
And
makes
if
any
I
sense.
was a developer and I wanted to build a house or within that area, then how would I know about this? Would it be on the city website? How would be able to guide the applicant to be cognizant of this plan?
So all the applicants and property owners have been noticed multiple times as this has gone through the process. I think it was mentioned last time that several of the property owners we haven't heard from. Well, actually, probably fewer than we think. So they're aware of it. I've talked with the 3 property owners here myself personally. They're not involved in kind of the maps that Victor is involved in, or Mr. Jose Villa, who's interested in the commercial piece. But I think only this property owner I haven't talked to, and this property owner I haven't talked to. I don't know who other staff members have, but they're aware, and also it'd be something that staff is aware of and is part of.
So this
the
would be,
approval
would it be
process.
accessible then on the
It-
We can definitely make it
website?
accessible on the
We will
website.
put it on the planning division website, in development services. And I think as Eva talked about, this master plan, as we go through the general plan update, this will serve a good foundation for us to, if our sphere goes east of, Highway 25, that we could build on this to come up with a specific plan on the other side of the highway. So, this is a great document to lead us into that, so.
All right, well, I don't have any further questions. I think I've had a lot of comments last time, and I think I'd like to be in favor of moving this forward to the city council. With those recommendations of the scale along the size, when I say scale, I mean the actual, like, remember, form-based codes, exactly the shape of the structures and the shape, the massing, the scale, the massing of those properties along Santa Ana and along Chapel Road that are bordering those neighboring properties, to be cognizant and to be mindful of the scale and keep it in respect to those neighboring homes to be single story. Okay. Any other comments?
Just a comment. I know I give a hard time about the school, but I really like this development. It looks really nice. I like the open spaces. I like the promenades. I mean, driving it. I'll tell you just a quick story. When I first moved here, I drove down. My first experience of living here, I actually rented my house sight unseen. And I live off of Buena Vista when I first moved here. And my first vision of driving through this town was coming down San Felipe from Highway 156 and driving down past the airport and then turning left onto the bypass. And all I could think of as I'm driving and I'm pregnant is, what did my husband move me to? Because I came from a city. I came from Sacramento, and I'm like, where did he move me to? Because I'm freaking out right now. Because it was a whole other story. But had I wouldn't have had that same experience driving and seeing something like this. It's a lot more welcoming, more, clean, more, like, it's just welcoming. Like, that would be a really beautiful thing to see, to drive into, versus my experience 7 years ago. Now, I'm really grateful I moved here because I absolutely love Hollister, but that would have been an even, like, just wow. Because I'm looking at the drawings that they were presented last time, and it really is phenomenal, even though I do give a hard time about the schools and the amount of homes, but I really think this will be a good fit for Hollister and a good inviting area for our town. So, just a side comment.
I appreciate that, and I have to tell you that it recalls a story that when I first came and visited Hollister, and my wife was pregnant, and we were in the downtown area, and I was looking at all those historic homes there, and the downtown, I could see the mountain ranges in the background. I said, we got to move here. This is going to be our home. And now this is a totally different context, but I think the design it's well designed, and I think it's really going to fit in. I think it's going to be a building block for our general plan. And I appreciate the work that went into it. Appreciate you guys working on it, and I appreciate Victor's input, and Kimley Horn did a good job. So, I guess without any other comments, Kevin.
I appreciate the work that went to preserving the mountain views. That's one of the things that I noticed coming here the first time was those peaks off in the distance, and I'm glad that they valued that and wanted to preserve the views of that.
Okay, so I think we have an informal consensus to move this forward, just without a resolution, but
Sorry.
I'd be happy to see what the city council says.
Fantastic. We'll
And
keep you
Carol,
updated.
we miss you up here too. You guys, you're great, and you're doing a great job with the city council, believe me. Thank you for your service. Okay, so I think we're done with that.
Shall I get Commissioner Munzer?
Oh. And just when I said, how could I forget him? Oh my gosh. Oh, well, it's not that late. It's not one of these like midnight things, but Seth, we missed you. We missed you. Yeah. I think we left him there last time. I'm not sure. Okay, we come to planning department reports.
I was just going to introduce Rose Redlich, our development services technician. She's helping us, the whole department, with the counter and just kind of the random things that we have to do and with applications and everything. So we're happy to have her here. I don't know if I stole your thunder, Brian. No.
Absolutely not. No, it's Rose came to us from Santa Clara County, and she's been thrown into the pool, and she does well just learning as we all go. So we're all very fortunate to have her. I do want to make one comment. Thank you, Rose. Thanks for being here. I do want to make one comment. The Planning Commission probably, and I don't know if we want to put it on the next agenda in December, but there needs to be an election for a new chairperson for 2020. So we probably need to agendize that for next month. So we're coming to the end of 2019. So we received 3 general plan submittals from consultants, and we're looking forward to getting that process going. So we're excited about that.
Sounds good. Hopefully they'll decide on the candidate and we can get it rolling.
Yeah, that's an important step, is just
Yes.
getting a candidate engaged in moving that forward. So
Can't wait to get started on that. And I'll be looking forward to see what happens with who's going to be our next chairperson. We'll see what happens.
got some big shoes to fill, huh?
Size 12 and a half. Okay.
Well, I'd just like to say welcome, Rose. I've had a chance to meet you at the counter.
Yeah.
Thank you for the help.
I am happy to be here.
Yeah.
I met Rose too. Thank you,
I'm
Rose.
enjoying the position so far.
Thanks for being on board. This is a great staff that you're going to be working with, believe me.
I've already met most of you. And
They're wonderful.
I like most of you.
Most of them. Except one planning commissioner. He's a little cocky and arrogant. Oh, well, what the heck. Just kidding. Anything else on planning department reports?
I don't think so, unless Amber or Eva have anything they'd like to share. Or
I'm going to make a quick update on some of our grants because we talked about some of them last time, and I just want you guys to be aware of where we're at. And I'm also going to touch about the HCD. I know Abraham talked about it. At that time, we were talking about it had gone to our council, and they requested that it be sent back to the HCD so they could have their review on it. That letter has been sent. We're still waiting for their comments. So that's where it's at in the process. For our SB2 grant, we are days away from submitting it. We're hoping tomorrow we'll submit it. And again, just as a reminder, we're working on getting funds for inclusionary housing, for ADU and zoning updates, and hopefully to use those funds to update our city's website. We are applying for a grant that's $160,000, non-competitive. So we're hoping to hear back from them. We're submitting a little bit early so we can get some guidance on anything that we need to change. So that's where that one's at. We also were recently approached about a Bloomberg asphalt grant, which is really exciting to incorporate some art into different areas of town. So we've been working with Jennifer Lane in engineering, and we're trying to sort out some different potential areas where asphalt art can go. So we'll keep you updated on that one. We're trying to take it to the next council meeting. And that is all I have. I was going to request that if we could adjourn in celebration of Abraham's daughter. She was recently born. She was born on Halloween. And also if we could adjourn in the honor and celebration of Bill Avra, the former city manager who has recently retired.
Thank you, Amber. And the Complete Streets charrette, I came by and saw everybody busy working and coming up with some cool ideas here at City Hall.
Yes, we are. I knew I forgot one of them, so thank you. We are working on the draft presentation. What was presented on Saturday, we, at the request of some of the people that had attended Saturday, are going to make that more public and circulate it. Right now, the presentation doesn't have verbiage on the side to really explain what people are looking at. So we're looking about 2 to 3 weeks of having some like that plug in onto the images that were created, and we will be circulating it and uploading it to the city's website for people to access and provide comment.
Great. And Abraham's daughter, her name? Do you know her name?
Sophia.
Sophia, okay. And with Bill Avera, I did attend his retirement party. I know Carol was there, and I tell you, the city should be thankful, very thankful for having Bill Avera sticking through and doing a great job for many, many years. And I really enjoyed working with him. And that, for me, I thought he did a great job. And I know Carol would chime in on that too, because I know you had a good relationship with him, and I can't say enough good words about Bill.
How many years total for Bill? 25? And he started from stocking the shelves all the way up to...
Yeah. I knew Bill when he had long hair. Yes. Yes. And I thought, wow, this is a pretty cool place here. This guy's with the housing department. I'm an architect looking for work, and this guy's got hair with down his shoulders like that. It's a pretty cool place to be working with guys that have
So he left with a shaved head.
Yeah.
Are you going to shave yours?
Yeah, right. Oh, well, enough said. It's not even planning commission reports, and I'm going on tangents. But Bill, thanks for your service, sincerely. Anything else on planning department reports? Okay. Planning commission reports.
I just have we're just, I'll say a reminder. Are we still looking into getting I know that you can't go because you're going to be in Hawaii, but the
Yes.
training or the conference for the March 4th, 5th, and 6th, I believe were the dates. Is there
Darn it.
any word on that? Not yet. It hasn't opened yet? Is that what it is? Oh, okay. Okay. And when is that, so I don't have to keep bugging you about that?
Unfortunately, they don't actually say on their website.
Oh, they
so I
don't?
keep
Okay.
trying to check in and hoping
Okay.
they will, but as of right now, it hasn't.
It hasn't opened yet?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I wish I could attend that, but my sister-in-law, as a Christmas present, she bought us tickets to go to Hawaii and to go with her and all that, so I can't change those plans.
No.
Speaking of Jennifer Lane and public art and art within the urban context, I did help do a presentation to the city council on Monday, and I know they had an ad hoc committee meeting, which I could not attend, but hopefully the city council will move forward with going with the public art master plan. We'll see how that takes place. I guess we're into planning commission reports. I just wanted to wish everyone a very happy Thanksgiving. And I tell you, it's a blessing to be here working with you guys and with my fellow commissioners here. I mean, it's really, I think we're really a good group, and we work together and get things done. It's, I feel privileged. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else with the planning commission reports? We will adjourn in celebration of Abraham's newly born daughter, Sophia, and also in gratitude for Bill Avera's service as city council and the city manager for several years. Do I have a second on that adjournment request?
I'll second that.
We are adjourned until December 19th. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you so much for your work. Really appreciate it. I'm glad I came tonight. I got some good info. Hi. Oh, how are you? I want to talk